Hello, I'm Carolyn Holzman, and this is Confessions of an SEO. Our time together is about 15 minutes, give or take. And on the surface, this isn't going to sound like a normal SEO podcast. There are no interviews, and I don't promote hacks. I do SEO testing, some of which I talk about, and I share a lot about my thoughts on our industry. So you don't need to take notes. Just sit back, relax your mind. Understand there are no protected interests in the world of SEO testing, but the only thing that is considered sacred is the desire to learn. Welcome to Season 5, Episode 46 of Confessions of an SEO. I'm going to talk about, today, probably making it, how to make it easier to find your tribe. Today's episode comes from a Twitter exchange, and I'll make sure you can follow the conversations. If you're on Twitter and want to connect with SEOs there, I'll put the links to these comments. You can always find the most recent episode on confessionsofanseo.com, and not just the latest one, but all of them, all 5 seasons. Subscribe on whichever platform where you get your podcasts, because it's a great way to support this podcast and help others find it. Last week's episode is also my 2 cents on the conversation about, is what we do even called SEO anymore? And my take is nothing probably has changed, and yet everything has changed. So maybe we can call what we do something else, whether it's Google, Bing, or AI. The how of it has expanded and continues to morph, but ultimately the result is you can listen to the episode. Okay. And let's not forget, our clients and ourselves, we all need to make a living, because we want all of us to earn a living, because otherwise, where will the money come to buy all the things that our clients want us to buy? Check out SEO versus GEO versus AIO on episode 45. So like I said, I was minding my business, spending a few minutes on Twitter when I read something, and I couldn't resist. Shuganthan Mohanadasan had this to say: I think we have a serious mental health issue in the SEO industry. Nobody wants to talk about it. We used to be a fun, friendly bunch, and now we are fighting each other every day over something. This includes myself. I'm starting to think all of us need to chill out a bit. And then he did the little hands formed in the shape of a heart emoji. Well, I got one word for it. Amen. So I'm going to talk about this. And you may also see how this may intertwine with last week's confessions. And Shuganthan makes it clear he's not just talking about that. What are we calling it? When someone suggested that that's kind of like what the encompassing the whole thing was about, he clarified it and said this is not limited to SEO/GEO. It's just over everything. Conference, podcast, webinar, article, Google changed something, over tools. It's like never-ending arguments. I get it. And for those of us living right now, I think we all feel it, and we feel it everywhere in our lives. And without going full metaphysical on y'all, we probably do need to chill out. It's like we're in this massive global irritation. So instead of, looking at the whole world to try and feel better, I'm going to say, if we were to just focus our lens on the uncomfortable conflict in our own industry, perhaps, making little micro changes could help us feel better collectively. If we can work this in our own work life, we might instill enough positive reinforcement that we could try the same in other areas of our life. So what are we doing when we argue about the best SEO this, the best SEO approach, the only way to do SEO or GEO or AEO, et cetera, et cetera? We literally seem to conflict our way into insisting that at the core of what we're trying to do, we're determined to promote sameness. I'll let that rest there for a minute. Are we trying to validate, let's say, whatever we're thinking about, and that it's only valid if everyone agrees with us, which would be a similar way of saying sameness. What would happen if we let go of that requirement that everyone agree with us and just go with this for just one hot minute? What if we let go of that part of our struggle because we're not only, SEO is our work, right? That's hard enough. But what if by also adding this other little piece onto it, which let's say by historical standards, it's an almost unachievable human requirement, right? That we have to be responsible for convincing 100% of everybody else to agree with us, for us to feel like we're okay. Does it make what we saw in any way less real if no one agrees with us? I experienced this in the period when we did not have any real data about what helpful content was measuring. When I first started sharing the performance data and the testing data, it indicated to my eye, all the behaviors indicated the negative aspects of a helpful content hit was topical. Not everybody then and not everybody now agrees that it's topical. In fact, those that are perhaps more vocal in opposition, they insist that helpful content is a way of writing copy that is, quote, helpful, unquote, without being able to demonstrate how that helpfulness is measured. How do you, what is it? How do you add it? So how do you measure it? And I got a front row seat to this question. Is it only a breakthrough if everyone we share it with sees it as we do? And then I got to say, is it everyone? Or is it just that some, but not all, start to argue? What I've found in my experience is when I was in quiet moments, there are always some who get it and some who, even if they aren't fully on board, they express the willingness to discuss things without shutting down the conversation. So I kind of think the chill out is probably on two fronts. First and foremost, we need to chill out on ourselves, right? Not make our requirements be so high. The goal is not to convince 100% of people because that will never, ever happen. If I find myself being irritated in a situation, especially, the reception of something that I may be talking about or sharing, I've kind of looked as more of an observer and looking at as equating it to, let's say, different frequencies. We're both listening to the radio, but we're not on the same station. The more emphatically I speak about something, it does not change someone else's radio station, right? It just starts as both on that road to irritation. So is it even fair to expect that someone not even on the same frequency or the station can even hear what is being said on the other one? Just because some are not on the same station, there are those who respond as if they are on the same station. And of course, our attention stays focused on the ones that did not go with us, right? But it's kind of documented human nature that we notice the negative. Negative sticks. Like it's some primordial part of our brain and nervous system. It's designed to protect us at all times. So I think too, when we can step back for a minute and observe, is it really everyone or is it just a noisy few? If I wanted to share and someone was having none of it, that doesn't change the it. What occurred just means that I tried to share, let's say in the interest of professional courtesy, but it wasn't received. They couldn't hear it. So the question then is my intention really to promote a sameness, or can we spark a discussion, a respectful, balanced discussion? Now I share and practice spending my energy on those who seem to indicate a willingness to create some sort of dialogue. And this is something new. This is what I'm about to say is something new. I sometimes now actually consider all my options, one of which is not sharing. For the longest time, I thought that at some point there was some obligation on my part to share something because of all the help that others had provided me along my SEO path. Now, mind you, those that provided me that help, that occurred because I asked for it. Not just the fact that they were sharing freely. And oftentimes I paid for that. But I think as I look at that sort of thought or practice thought, it was the obligation aspect that probably that part of it creates the part that kind of feels more potentially dooming, right? If I share and it's received, that's great. If I share and it's turned into the basis of an argument, well, now in my new behavior, if I'm not engaged in whatever argument got started, I feel so much better. I run many tests and experiments these days in my work, experiments. Some I share, some I don't. And usually what I don't share is because on some level it does disrupt some seriously beloved and much repeated beliefs about SEO. But it never occurred to me until recently that being at choice about various things is a way I put my own oxygen mask on first when it comes to SEO. And I can definitely plot a correlational path between this choice and the increased amount of peace in my work. So, do we have a mental health problem in SEO? Maybe. It might also be that our expectation of some kumbaya moment from 100% of SEOs right now is not reasonable. AI is, I'm going to use these words, destroying even our ability to evaluate our SEO success in the same way we've done for the past 20 to 25 years. We might need to take a minute. And in these hot, volatile times, maybe we could be in a position to give our fellow SEOs and ourselves some grace. Is no one talking about how we talk to each other? Well, after today, I am, and I hope you'll explore it in your own way as well. I hope we, and I include me in this, can fine-tune our awareness and put our attention to those who engage us so that we can encourage, a more calm, rational, and balanced discussion. And then let those who want to be more combative just do their thing without it causing us to spin out. It's probably easier to practice this in real life. And when we're feeling a little more seasoned with it, then maybe we can start practicing it on social media, on the exchanges within social media, where it's so easy to get sideways even on a good day. I'm curious to know what you're doing to maintain the balance in your SEO life when we're in this age of disruption. So I hope you focus on your tribe. That's it for me this week. Thank you for being a listener. I appreciate the comments that come in. And if you have something you'd like to tell me, feel free to text it to this number. This goes to Confessions. That number is 512-222-3132. And check out Indexilla. It's my indexer tool. You can find it at indexilla.io because now more than ever, AI makes the indexation of your content into Google essential. Don't leave it to chance. Thank you for listening, and until next week, I'll see you in the SERPs.